All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are honoured to welcome back a host of former players, coaches and presidents, men who wore the badge when the club felt broke into the top flight of New South Wales football. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome onto the field the legends of Sydney United, and in particular, Socceroo captain Tony Popovich. And we've also got Andy Pascalides. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the pitch Sydney United legends of the past and yonder, and also coming onto the pitch now is Fra Claudio from Sveti Nikola Tavalic Church in St. John's Park, and he is here to bless the Sydney United fans, players, members, volunteers, committee members, juniors, coaches, and of course this wonderful stadium that's created so many memories over the past years since 1958. There's a beautiful photo there with Fra Claudio and the Sydney United committee and the Sydney United legends. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And as they make the circle, Fra Claudio will now bless this stadium and all Sydney United and supporters. Thank you so much, Fra Claudio. Please give him a big round of applause. And thank you to all the volunteers, the fans, the players, the members, the coaches, committee members, and of course you wonderful fans for coming out here on this big Easter Monday for this big clash between Sydney United and Marconi. Sydney United going for 9 games in a row, and best of luck, and thank you for your attendance. Tony Popovich, coach of the Socceroos, best of luck in the World Cup. Sydney Croatia legend Tony Popovich is here with us this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please give Papa a big round of applause.
See that little question right there? Any chance you could answer that for us? It'd be a huge help.
Anthony Keelich, 30 Joshua Azizi, 41 Adrian Jamie Buzina, and 47 Christian Ladzieri. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck to Sydney United this afternoon for this big Easter Monday home clash.
Good afternoon and welcome to football on Easter Monday. It is NPL Men's New South Wales from the Sydney United Sports Centre, and what a grand occasion we have for you today. Sydney United 58 taking on the Marconi Stallions. It is first with a perfect record taking on third. It would have been a blockbuster clash at any time of the season, but a public holiday Alex Molchanoff, your thoughts on who's going to win and why?
Well, it'll be a braver person than me to predict that today, Teo. What I can tell you is we're going to get a fantastic afternoon's football. I'll tell you what, the Sydney United players, if they're not buoyed by the crowd and the turnout and the level of community support they've had this week, then it'll take something special to get them further up than this. We're going to see fire and brimstone early, Teo. And can Marconi be the spoilers? They've built somewhat of a reputation of it over the past couple of seasons, and they've got a phenomenal record under Peter Sekenis against Sydney United.
So Sydney United 58 in the red to attack the right of your screens in the first half.
United!
Turning in the blue to attack the left. It's perfect weather, barely a breath of wind, and ignore the overcast skies. The rain has stayed away for now. A huge crowd in, and just how influential could that atmosphere be for the home side as they try to go to a perfect 9 wins from 9. We're underway. Sydney United 58 against Marconi. It's always a special occasion, and today shapes as another for these two heavyweights of New South Wales competition. Jack Armson with an early touch near the edge of the box. Anton Mlinaric consolidating possession with the American Quinton Blair midfield for the Stallions. Back to Joel Wade in goal. Long ball which is headed away by Michael Glassick from the centre of defence. And so we wait for George Daniel to come up from the left and take the throw in. Marco Jesic. Mlinaric with a long high ball. Glassick under the header. Tamaki Wada trying to bring the ball down. And now Tyron Burney. Wheeling around. Look at the underlapping run here at great speed. Breaking through underneath. And the cross into the side. And a bit of a disappointing end for Luca Pecora there, but Marconi making the early going.
And maybe a clue as to what we're going to see here, Teo. The move forward of Tyron Burney over the last couple of weeks has been an inspired move from Peter Sekenis. It's given them a little bit more cut and thrust down that right wing. Pecora coming into this team has been fantastic. Not his best end product on that occasion, but Sydney United will be well advised to be alive to the danger that those pair offer down the right-hand side of Marconi's attack.
Tenkwol back from scoring on international duty for South Sudan, and Joel Wade slices the ball out here, throw-in going Sydney United's way. Historically, anything really of note, Mulch, coming into this game as far as streaks? I mean, they drew and had that epic penalty shootout win for Marconi back in September of last season, one of the great games of recent memory in NPL New South Wales. And Marconi have had a slight edge, winning the previous three before that within the 90 minutes.
Well, and the game you mentioned, the one before that, Sydney United trailing 2-0 at half-time at this ground. Marconi would go on to win a grand final in 2024. But Sydney United put together one of the best second-half comebacks you'll see in front of a crowd not quite as healthy as today, but certainly the hill was full. And Carlos de Oliveira's celebration running straight into those supporters was one of the lasting images of that season. They'll be hoping history repeats itself here.
Dylan Rose with a bit of a shallow pass. Jesic with a sighter. And the Boo Boys are out for Marco Jesic. Nothing he wouldn't have been subject to here in previous seasons. And again, while we wait for a goal kick, what about a crowd? There's been a real groundswell around NPL, around the country, thanks to perhaps the effect of the championship burning all the way through to December. But winning helps, and big teams winning certainly is a factor in such a healthy crowd. You'd think it's at least 4,000 here today.
Well, it wasn't the case for Sydney United in the championship, as you well know, Teo. They're a club that performed below expectations in that competition. It has been the NPL itself where they've sort of refound themselves at the start of 2026. Their performances have been terrific. They've been playing an entertaining, enterprising brand of football under the restored Miro Vlastelica, such a popular figure around these parts as well, and so highly thought of in Australian football. The fact he's their go-to man when things seem to be going in the wrong direction is, it speaks to the culture, but also the calibre and the size of the club of Sydney United.
And hello to all our viewers around the country and around the world on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel. It seems as though at the 4-minute mark, Marconi not able to build a meaningful attack, so a goal kick, and Vlastelica only as far as Mlinaric. He chips it up. It's over the head of Armson. And now Rose taking the game on in midfield. Might have bit off more than he can chew, though. And he goes through the back of Damien Sekenis there and concedes a free kick. Sydney United's midfield, two really excellent technicians in Tamaki Wada and Carlos de Oliveira, and then the work rate and the hustle of Dylan Rose will be crucial today, especially up against a player in Jack Armson who has such a prolific work rate of his own, running box to box. And he's over the free kick here. Can he find one of the taller targets? Qual and Mlinaric lurking, and Mlinaric was the hope. Wada clears initially. And only as far as Pecora, the man back for Marconi. Through comes Nakano with real energy. He flies for the header. When the lineups came in very late, just before kickoff, Mulch, anything that stood out to you about how either team is lining up today that caught you by surprise?
Well, probably the change of Nakano, to be honest, Teo. The fact that Krilic's not available today, it is a change because he's been so bright for them, and that position, Nakano's not found a start yet. In the NPL was, of course, part of all 6 games of the championship campaign that didn't go to plan. He's a good technician with a ball at his feet himself. Played as part of a back 3 last year at the Northern Tigers, but haven't seen him play as successfully as a fullback to this point in his NPL career. So be interesting to see just how he goes against that threat of Bernie and Pecora today.
Here is Tyron Burney. He's looking up at 3 opponents, though. And he still fashions a cross and wins his team a corner kick. So we've seen a mid-range free kick. Now we see a corner for the visiting Marconi Stallions. Joel Wade is giving a briefing here to his 2 centre-backs before they head up for the corner kick, and it's going to be George Daniel to swing it in.
Both teams fancy themselves from these sorts of situations, Teo. There's going to be a lot of bodies colliding and a bit of blocking going on. Plenty for the refereeing team to watch.
So Bernie and Pecora are the only 2 players back. Everyone else for Marconi has been committed forward to the penalty area. George Daniel looking to the back post. Mlinaric up, and just enough from Glassick to interrupt him there. And Glassick got the last touch. It's going to be consecutive corners, one to the other. Mate Busek is going over to take the corner on the other side. And his form is one of the reasons that Franco Meyer remains on the bench for the Marconi Stallions today. Can he produce a perfect corner early in the piece? Busek. Back post again over the head of Qual, but Michael Glassick, he's been the lone defender reading the ball best in the air for Sydney United, and just enough to make sure that Marconi did not have an uncontested header on either occasion.
They had a similar start in the game a couple of weeks ago, Sydney United against Rockdale, and it was a question of them a year ago is when they don't have things going in their favour, with the ball at their feet, trying to break down the opposition, how well can they absorb attack after attack? They did it really well that day. Were outplayed in the opening 45 minutes, came out at the start of the second half, a different team, and managed to capitalise. Marconi putting them under similar pressure early here today, Teo.
Pecora, Sekenis on an acute angle. Glassick guarding him. And Sekenis not able to get beyond Glassick with the cross. But it's another corner, and the ball is living down at the attacking end for the away side at the moment. I'm casting my eyes around the ground for the Italian flag and small cluster of sky blue shirts that tends to follow Marconi to every game now, but I haven't spotted them just yet, Mulch, so
no,
maybe they'll make themselves known. I'm getting a point. They're down in the corner at the right of screen, so they've chosen the end that Sydney United are attacking in the first half.
Is there an omen there? Hoping for something in the second?
You'd love to see them right behind this corner here that is about to be whipped into the box by George Daniel. He's already had one, and it found the head of Mlinaric. Do Marconi mix it up, or will it be something similar here? Jesic is making a nuisance of himself on the goal line. Here comes the corner from Daniel. Near post this time, and dealt with by Krislovic. Second time ball from Daniel. Vlastelica appeared to be pushed. The referee holds the whistle. And now, with no advantage apparent, pays very late the free kick to Sydney United.
One of the best at getting himself in the preferable position as a centre-back. It's part of the art, but Adrian Vlastelica is very, very good. Just unseating centre forwards and where they want to be. Obviously in the clearing side of things that time around, but you'll see Damien Zaketis has got a tough job. Two big physical centre halves around him, and if he's just caught out of position, they're very, very good at working free kicks to their favour as well.
Krislovic on the end of Wada's pass, not quite. It's going to be the first corner of the game at the other end. No first touch for UBF though as the ball rolls past, and great to see so many photographers and social media producers attending the NPL and getting the word out. There's a big game on today and a great atmosphere, and this place is going to explode if the home team scores a goal. Is this the moment right here? Mason Wells using his left foot. In swinger, Mlinaric gets the header away. Farakoko didn't want his left foot initially, and he's going to have to break left here. You can see he wants to turn back onto his right, and he does. Vlastelica, return ball, Coco! Shot on target, held by Wade.
He's been in such good form, Farakoko. And how about the vision from Vlastelica to pick him out as well, amongst a very congested penalty area. Sydney United showing just why they've been the best team in the league so far this season. The fact that their defenders are playing defence-splitting passes like that.
Busek against Rule, and Bailey Rule clears. George Daniel getting it done on both sides of the pitch. He's been taking corners from the right, now throw-ins from the left. Jesic dispossessed by Wells. Rule helping out, Dylan Rose. Here's Coco, deep in his own half. Nakano chasing it down towards the line and just pops it forward, hoping for the best. Carlos de Oliveira able to just hold the ball up and protect possession, and he's done well there, and a smattering of applause as the home fans appreciate the work of their chief playmaker here, but well, that's the commentator's curse on show as he gives possession away.
Just jinking back onto that left foot. He'll have a few more moments like that today, Carlos de Oliveira. Been another one of these Sydney United players that seems to be growing into a role of leadership. Came through as a player at Blacktown City who was ambitious and had a bit of huff and bluster about him. Now there's a cooler head on those shoulders and an ability to make the difference in attacking areas. So I'll need from him again today.
Busek clipped over the top by Armson, and Nakano in keeping it away from Jesic. He couldn't play it back towards his goalkeeper Pavlicic, and that means it's a corner. If there is one team that's probably well equipped to deal with a battery of set pieces, though, it is Sydney United. Krislovic is going to put himself on the near post. Vlasic, Vlastelica, they've got some tall players out there.
I'll be very surprised if Marconi haven't cooked something up in the week that Sydney United haven't seen before. Good coaching staff. Know that they would have wanted to get themselves in situations like this, but know that physicality of their opposition, they're going to have to be a bit creative with these deliveries into the box. See both hands go to the head of George Daniel here.
Tyrone Burney's lurking as a short corner, but Daniel is going to whip it into the near post again. Pavlicic up. And now foot race on. Wells led to the ball. And Mate Busek able to see it over the line.
Just keeping control of this game early, Marconi. They've done very well to not play to the occasion. It's just been into their system and all the usual plans. Nothing out of the blue to this point. And as such, have controlled this opening, 13 minutes.
Wells. Mlinaric. It's going to have backspin on it, this one. Tough for Nakano. He actually barely glanced the ball. Now Wada. Quoll off the chest with plenty of power. Blair dispossessed though. Well played Nakano. And he's still battling against Pecora. Now he's legged in spectacular fashion, but that's just great combative work there from Koya Nakano.
But it's one way to endear yourself to the fans here. So the Sydney United Sports Centre is be willing to get in those. Well, that was more than a 50-50 battle. He had two Marconi players around him. Speed of thought and as well as the physical strength to hold off the attention of the two in sky blue.
Wells. Daniel. Locked him up. And the referee's whistle says illegally so. Mason Wells asking for a card.
I think well within his rights, perhaps. Just how early it is in the game. It shouldn't matter, Teo, but we know it often does in these big derbies. George Daniel had only one thing on his mind there, and that was ensuring that Mason Wells did not get another step closer to the 18-yard box or the byline. I think he's a very fortunate boy not to have picked up the first yellow ticket there. He's still got hold of him. So he goes towards this free kick.
Samakiwara. Out swinging free kick. Glancing header from Wells. Shouts for a handball. And the urging of the crowd, both on the hill and in the stand, not able to convince Ivica.
I have no doubt it struck the arm of Vantom Lenaric there, but if we're calling that handball, then we're going to have a lot of them over the course of this 2026 NPL season. No doubt about that. That was the correct decision.
Vlastelica goes to ground. Sekenes pops it over to the top. Mate Busek! Oh, over the bar. He struck it firmly, but it just kept rising.
That's where Sydney United can get caught out, Teo. Committed too many numbers forward there. And as they were still backtracking, two direct accurate passes. And Busek, who's been in very good form to start this season, will be disappointed he didn't even force a save out of Pavlicic there. First warning shot from the visitors, really.
Lenaric has won a few important headers already. Glassick finds Mason Wells. His touch, not quite for Bailey Rule, and Daniel plays it into the body of Rule to win his team a throw in.
Just got to stay in the battle here, Sydney United. They haven't started too poorly, but just second to a few of these 50-50s. Been caught out by that direct ball as well as what Marconi will do here, which is almost just brute force their way into the opposition's final third. Got to be up for that physical battle as well.
De Oliveira hit the ball at full speed. Now he veers left. Nakano. Peter Sekenes having words with the fourth official, but they've separated now. Rose untangles himself from a 1-on-2, but Vlastelica's pass is just a little shallow. Blair put in a slide challenge. Lenaric stepping up from defence, and now Busek goes to work 1-on-1 against Bailey Rule. Can he get the better of him in the corner? He does, to the extent that he wins a corner kick. And so another set piece for Marconi. Mate Busek, who's won the set piece, will step out his run up here for the corner kick. Jesic, the lone man in the 6-yard box. Everyone else lurking at the back post. It's a near post attack. Krizlovic, an up and under clearance. Rule nods it to the edge of the area. Quol. And he can't run down his touch. Out it goes for Ten Quol. Wada. Now a long ball. Daniel, Mason Wells made a contest, legally so, but he doesn't have a throw in to show for it. An additional piece of context around the game, of course, the Ron Corrie Cup being contested today, a player with great history at both clubs, and Tony Popovich, the Socceroos manager here. We weren't able to bring you a huge amount of pre-game due to commercial music playing over the loudspeakers and building the atmosphere for the game, but in the run, I'll come back to it. Well, we've got a chance right here with this throw in. Great to see Sydney United building so much spectacle into the game by having the legends in the house.
I couldn't agree more, Tayo. And it's just given this match, which is already an important one, an extra added level of meaning. It's incumbent upon clubs to do that as well. Sell the wares that you have. And getting the endorsement of someone like Tony Popovich is so closely associated here, holding the role in Australian football that he does at the moment, along with a number of the Sydney United old boys that have drawn big crowds and been on those big Australia Cup runs over the past 4 or 5 seasons.
And Thomas Loveless-Cock, the MacArthur player, would be, as you can imagine, immediately ready to step out there and play, and perhaps having to be urged not to on a day like today, given such is his passion for the club as well. And for the broader community backing it, former Melbourne Knights player in Melbourne as well on his journey. So the game is just in a little bit of a holding pattern at the moment. Marconi, as we tick up towards 20 minutes, shading it. Sydney United looking for a bit of a spark, a bit of something to swing the pendulum in their favour, bring the crowd into it a little more. Krislovic. Now Wada, Farakoko, and this is better from the home side right on cue. Farakoko taking on Pecora. He's sent wide, but he does keep the ball. Pecora, and now Jesic coming across to help. And De Oliveira second to the ball there. And so even just the little moments for Sydney United, they're not turning them into full team link-ups. It's just little flashes here and there.
I think part of it's wanting to keep their structure as well, Taylor. We saw when they came out of that shape 5-10 minutes ago, they were hit in counter-attack. So there'll be a reluctance to really be too fluent in what they're doing going forward, just at risk of losing what they've got defensively. The first goal in this game, it goes without saying, is so important, particularly given how good Marconi have been as front runners recently.
Defensive header important there because Sekenis was coming from deep, and Vlastelica able to dive out and head the ball back to his goalkeeper, Adam Pavlicic. Roundhouse kick to send the ball to the edge of the attacking third. Daniel up. Second ball on for Wada. Now Wells. Mason Wells back to Bailey Rule. De Oliveira, great run from Rule, and cleared by Daniel. Coco volleys it on. Wada, was it a handball? Mason Wells slicing away. And the referee did say too much of a handball there from Tamaki Wada.
And I think even if that touch had come for him, there were 2 Marconi players back there ready to try and block the strike. The Sydney United have just responded, I'd say, to the slower start in this game, starting to play more fluently through midfield and at least get themselves some attacking territory, take some of the pressure off their back line, which was under siege early. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Joel Wade, not one of the more experienced goalkeepers around the competition. He's filling a big pair of gloves in Jimmy Hilton this season.
Square ball here, Blair. Pecora sidesteps Coco, who's got Burning on his outside. Things slow down a bit for Marconi. They've got numbers around the edge of the box, though. Jesic and Bailey Rule, just enough of a touch again to get it back to Pavlicic.
You see the genius of Jesic there. That was the most subtle of touches. Hasn't led to the initial opportunity, but look at Marconi press here, Teo. Brilliant.
Busek sent wide by Sekenis. Mate Busek bides his time, waits for George Daniel to advance. Daniel now, a shimmy to free his feet for the cross. Was Sekenis illegally dealt with? It's going to sit up. Bernie blocked away. Nakano all important. Well, Adrian Vlastelica and Damien Sekenis had it coming together there, but the referee saw nothing untoward.
Well, I said Damien was going to have to cop some bumps and bruises. It was a very well-timed one there from Adrian Vlastelica. Just knocking him off balance ever so slightly.
Here's a cross from mid-range. Glassick up. Blair volleying it only as far as Vlastelica. George Daniel, vital part of making Marconi immune to the counter-attack. Here's Busek. And now Blair. Back to Qual. Pecora pops it over to the right. Armson, 2 players on his case. And one was enough to dispossess him. And now Wada hard against the line. Through comes Qual. The ball just won't go out. It stays in. And to Marconi's advantage. Armson lifts up across. And Bailey Rule playing it safe. Split the difference between his goalkeeper and trying to bring it down. He heads it out for a corner kick.
Awkward situation there for Bailey Rule. He played it really well. Knew exactly where his opposition player was. If he gets enough purchase on that header, it's pretty safely back to Pavlicic, and worst case scenario, which is played out, they've conceded a corner. So they've looked fairly comfortable defending to this stage, Teo. They can all change with one well-directed ball, though.
Busek has Bernie on for the short corner. He's going to ignore that option and put it right into the 6-yard box, where a glancing header from Vlastelica means corner on the opposite side. And the set-piece battery continues for visiting Marconi. George Daniels' turn over on the right-hand side.
And it is a battery at the moment. Players crowding in front of Adam Pavlicic. Marconi have clearly identified they think they can get some joy by asking the goalkeeper to deal with these balls swung in hard and low towards him. To this point, he's not been too keen to come and catch. To be fair to him, it looks rather difficult with Mlinaric and Jesic right on his toes.
Short corner. Here comes the variety. Tyron Burney back to George Daniel, just changing the angle a bit, and Pavlicic with a commanding claim as he rose above Sekenis there. Mlinaric trying to hold the counter-attack. Pavlicic went for an overhead throw. Gets it to De Oliveira, and now he sends it long. Coco against Burney, who got back in double quick time, the Marconi defender. Turns it around the corner to George Daniel. And Daniel here. Jesic. Players reorganising out of the corner kick. Sekenis. He's got the space to turn and advance here. Off shins. He won't get a second bite at it. De Oliveira to Bailey Rule. And a less than subtle grab there from Sekenis. Concedes the free kick. Taken quickly. Krislovic is on the move. And out comes Wade. Rises to the header. It's a little bit hectic for Marconi here. Krislovic has been felled behind play. And the whistle goes for a free kick for Jack Armson. But there was a little bit of afters with Krislovic, maybe just getting a stray arm to the body. I didn't see all of it. I only saw the landing.
I don't think anything more than you would usually see with Anton Mlinaric, Teo. It's one of the firmer figures defensively in the competition. You're matching up against him. Much like Vlastelica down the other end. You don't expect an easy afternoon at the office.
No, and there has been a real focus on the game itself rather than getting too distracted with byplay or the intensity of the contest. The afternoon is young. 27 minutes ticked over. Still no goals. Wade, long ball. Up goes Rule. Daniel leaves it with Armson. Jack Armson thinking about a long shot. Decided against. And then he didn't quite play it to the advantage of Jesic, and the ball is cleared.
It's the pass that's missing for Marconi at the moment. It's just that ball to find Jesic or Sekenis where they can use their hold-up play and those clever little touches that they can feed one another with, or one of the wide players. I want to see Busak more involved in those sorts of areas. That little slip won't help his confidence.
Wells taking on the Marconi defence single-handedly. Mlinaric, a clean challenge, just a throw-in. Throw-in taken quickly. Rule. Twisting the ball and to the edge of the box. De Oliveira couldn't chip it to the advantage of Wells. Rule again. And Jesic able to hook it away. Rose. Burney. Aerial ping-pong back and forth. Armson, what a touch. That was clever. And he sets Jesic away down the left. Here goes Marco Jesic. Numbers bombing forward in the middle for Marconi. Jesic happy to be patient here. Busek ran right into Glasic and he shut things down. Wells rolling on the ball. Gifts it straight back. Sekenis, great touch. Even better save. And the follow-up is sliced out. Well, an excited strike there from Luca Pecora. And that attack promised so much more there for Marconi.
How about the ball in from Busek? And the first touch from Sakan has put himself in a terrific shooting opportunity, Teo. Didn't quite catch it as cleanly as he would have liked. And then Pecora, probably not the player Marconi would have wanted that opportunity to fall to. He's been so keen getting forward. Just snatched at the moment rather than maintaining his focus and able to retain his technique.
Mason Wells put the 360 spin away in that part of the field, I imagine.
Yes.
Here's Coco down the other end. Sydney United, they're absorbing chances. Can they score against the run here? De Oliveira can't knock it onto his own advantage, and Quoll bombs away. That one is going to spin out right next to the Marconi dugout. And the fans in the main stand behind our commentary position in camera. Very healthy contingent in the VIP today, and you can hear them singing. And if you haven't had that NPL experience, Alex Molchanov, this is what a big day in the NPL is all about.
We want to see more and more of them over the course of the season, Teo, but our vantage point today is bringing you that atmosphere. Getting around the competition at some of these old grounds which retain noise so brilliantly.
Rule. Are the players on the pitch going to respond to a bit of urging from the home fans? We've passed 3,000 on the live stream as well, so I think there's a few people with FOMO that wish they were here today. De Oliveira. Ball clear to the halfway line. Vlastelica. Aggressive touch, and he takes the game on. The centre-back marauding forward. And the cross. Well, Daniel playing it safe. Off the shoulder. I think he was trying to concede a corner, and he has done in the end.
Well, these are the moments now Sydney United need to pick up on. You mentioned that change in the crowd. They seem to have responded to that somewhat, the players. A little bit more intensity in their movements. Someone get forward and attack this ball. Bit of Vlastelica or a classic to stand up in a situation like this over the course of the afternoon.
Mason Wells. Left footer. He's going to drift it. De Oliveira tried to score goal of the year with the volley, and he put it wide.
He's got a history of goals like that in this fixture as well, Teo. Has enjoyed it since his move across to Sydney United, one of the fan favourites here. Talked about that attacking quality he's added to his game. Confidence to take that on is a good sign, but not quite coming up with the execution there. Better signs for Sydney United in the last 5 minutes or so.
Dealing with the ebb and flow of the contest, Marconi would consider themselves to be particularly good at that.
They've looked completely unaffected by it to this stage, Teo.
Oh, yes, it's big air swing at the ball. Rose able to come away with possession. Glenarich, clever little dink to his defensive partner. And look at Quoll weaving through midfield. He's happy to take the game on here, and then the spin finds Jesic, and Jesic says, what about my advantage?
Yeah.
Almost a little bit too good there, Ten Quoll.
I tend to agree as well. 3 on 4 there, which, not a clear advantage in terms of numbers, but when you Marko Jesic with a couple of yards in front of you, only 25 yards from goal, you'd take that any day in a fixture like this.
Pecora sent sprawling down on the right. Nakano ran out of real estate, and on the synthetic with the very clearly marked lines. It's impossible to disguise or obfuscate anything. Good call by the assistant referee. Today's assistants on the near side, Ethan Zvagoulis, and on the outer side, Isaac Riggs, and the fourth official today, Rowan Fisher. So after Sydney United's best phase of the first half between about the 29 and 32 minute mark, Marconi seemed to have re-established a bit of command, although that pass asking a lot from Armson. Daniel responds. Jesic cools things back down to Quoll. He goes to the right. Pecora. Wade trusting his distribution. Maybe a little too much. He sent that one high, and luck's of fortune because Bailey Rule headed it out for him right on the line as it appeared to be going out for a throw-in, which George Daniel will take. Blair. Sekenis caught by a bit of a hospital ball. Rose bustling in the other direction. And Quinton Blair, there's afters with Sekenis, but the card's out of the pocket for Quinton Blair, who, like a true professional, made himself scarce and left the scene and has left the referee looking for him. And out comes the first yellow card of the game.
Player who's been in that situation enough times. Mentioned a moment or so, well, it'd be 10-15 minutes ago now, that George Daniel brought down Wells in a similar manner. He's lucky to avoid the booking, but Blair's had no such luck here. It's good direct running that's forced the Marconi midfield to play catch-up there. Give us just a glimpse of what Dylan Rose can offer through the middle there. He's more than just a screener. Someone who has got the athleticism and technical ability to get forward and have an impact up there as well.
So a long-range free kick for Carlos de Oliveira. Wade sets himself, leaps over with a double fist and clears. Coco. Rose. Wade makes ground again, and he was only really leaping against his own teammate by the end of that. We've ticked into the final 10 minutes of regulation in this first half. Scoreless at Sydney United versus Marconi. Round 9 of NPL Men's New South Wales. Great run by Tyron Burney, and then outside of the foot pass. He's going to get it on the return here. Nicely worked by Sekenis. Burney lifts in the cross. Busek heads it into his own teammates. And Sekenis might have got that right in the face, because he stays down and play will be whistled to a stop. It was a thrilling move, and Mate Busek there, I don't think it was going to be a goal-bound header, but it has been enough to knock over his own teammate here.
That's such a shame, because as you said so, it was one of the better moves of the match, beautifully developing. And the fact that the ball was right on the money for Mate Busek, I'm not sure there was a whole lot Sekenis could do. He'd made his run to the front post, trying to get out of the way, and it has got him straight in the chops.
Looking back on the replay, I'm pretty sure Busek's header was heading well wide of the right-hand post, but what a run by Tyron Burney.
Yeah, he's got that in his locker, Teo, which is why he's been moved up there over the last couple of weeks by Peter Sekenis. We mentioned it up near the top of the broadcast, and it's come to fruition for the first time really here. Starting to see Marconi wrestle that momentum back off. It really has been a seesawing first half in terms of the two teams managing to put their imprint on the game. Both goalkeepers probably a little bit fortunate that we haven't seen them tested more regularly. But that speaks to the defensive solidity of the two teams as well. They've been the best in the competition to this point in the season. Marconi consistently one of the best defensive sides over the course of the past 2 or 3 seasons.
For those of you not overly familiar with the records, in winning those 8 games, Sydney United was 18 goals for, 6 against. Marconi, 6 wins, a draw and a loss. 13 goals for, 7 against. So both teams watertight at the back. Vlastelica. Krizlovic cleared a bit of airspace there for Wells, but the communication wasn't quite right. Krizlovic is going to catch George Daniel in possession. Rule. Rose has a bit of space, which Jesic was closing down. Nakano. Back to Vlastelica. Sydney United's turn to string some passes together. Vlasic. Now Rose over on the right. Krizlovic is in the box, but Rose decides against a long-range cross. He's going to work his way forward another 10 metres. Now he whips it in. Only succeeds in picking out Mlinaric. Burney with a volley on. Vlastelica leans back onto a left-footed clearance. Rule up for the header. Krizlovic second to the ball behind Mlinaric. Here comes Bailey Rule, though, and he volleys. Mlinaric with a header. High bouncing ball off the synthetic. And the roar of disapproval from the home fans as a free kick is paid, but Anton Mlinaric really showed his value there with some very hard-won headers.
Yeah, and that's the bit of his game that I've seen him play in the A-League too. He's still a young man, only 23 years old, but carries himself with the experience of a player much older than that. I was just thinking as Rule was lining up there, it was a goal that was very close to being the goal of the season a year ago from almost that same blade of artificial turf here. Didn't quite catch that volley to the same brilliance that he managed 12 months ago.
Rule. Wada. Classic. First thoughts were of a back pass to his keeper, which Pavlicic is going to take and then try to switch flanks at pace. Nakano strikes a long ball. Crawl into the back of De Oliveira. No free kick. Marconi win back possession. And we tick into the final 5 minutes of regulation time in what has been a brisk first half. Sekenis. And now Rose with a clearance. Mason Wells. Able to scuff it on here. De Oliveira. Jesic. Scragged him, but Krislovic received the pass. Krislovic cuts onto his left. Coco in the middle. And vital defence there from Marko Jesic, who committed an indiscriminate foul in the build-up. And if he had the Boo Boys on his case before, he saved the day by denying a goal, both on the line and perhaps with what he did to Carlos De Oliveira in the build-up.
Well, if you need to see why he's so highly valued by the team for which he wears the shirt and has done for so long, that passage of plays tells you everything you need to know about the heart and desire and character of Marko Jesic. He's also, you're right, Teo, it does make him a target for the ire of the Sydney United supporters, but I think he's quite comfortable in that role.
I don't think it's an unreasonable argument that Jesic there, he's back on the goal line to clear. If he doesn't scrag De Oliveira is right there to tap it in.
That's a very good point.
Alongside him.
It may well be the case.
Farah Coco was challenging for the ball as it was. Here he is in possession again. We're doing, or I'm doing amateur VAR here with the advantage of the stream. Here's Coco. He volleys. And he slams the turf in disappointment. Able to lose the defender, and the ball set up ever so kindly, but the shot just kept rising.
And you can understand his frustration, but it's just that intervention again from Blair. Give him one more thing to think about. Take him off balance slightly. I mean that he's leading back so that strike flies over the crossbar as it did. Really promising end to this first half for Sydney United. Have finally got the bit between their teeth, the wind in their sails, any cliche you like. But it's down to them striding forward and being fearless when they take possession. Been really keen to go at Marconi in the last 10 minutes or so. Let's put them in a really positive position. They're unlucky they haven't got a reward yet. Well, I use that word discriminately, Teo, yet. You've still got time enough to find an opening goal here before the break.
And the moment is lost here for Mason Wells. He's a very left-footed player, playing as an inverted winger over on the right side.
Interesting that was different to what happened a week ago as well, where Coco was starting on the right, Wells on the left, not looking to cut in against their fullbacks. I wonder if their supporting fullbacks in Sydney United have been able to get forward as much as Miro Vlastelica would have liked in this first half, whether that's something they talk about over the course of the break.
Blair. Square ball over to Daniel. Busek and Daniel. Oh, Jesic off balance. Classic. Finds De Oliveira. He can distribute from deep here as the runners break. And he wants Wells over on the right. He's dragging Mlinaric over to the corner. Mason Wells and Mlinaric. Nothing getting past him at the moment.
You see why their record with him is so much better than when he's out of the team. He just covers so much ground and is so rarely erring in his defensive cover. It means they can throw more numbers forwards than they're able to when he's not in the team, because he's just such a good one-on-one defender.
Nakano popping up in the middle of the pitch, but he can't keep the ball. Armson. Sekenis a little isolated up top. Rose. De Oliveira. Now Bailey Rule holds off Armson. And as has been the case a few times in this half, Ivica has just waited to see if advantage is there and decides it wasn't.
He knows Sydney United want to go quickly when they've got the opportunity. We've seen it happen a couple of times and they've created a good couple of chances out of it as well.
Rose. Short pass. Wells. Wada. Little sidestep. Clips it up. Coco caught behind his marker in Pecora. And it will be a throw-in as we tick down to stoppage time at the end of the first half in front of a big, busy crowd at the Sydney United Sports Centre. De Oliveira. Good play from Nakano. 1-2 with Wada. Nakano! Well, it was offside, and he was trying to score on an impossible angle, and he wasn't able to buy a favourable deflection.
I'll tell you what, he's got the technical quality to pull off things like that, Koya Nakano. Wonderfully cultured player, even beyond his capabilities on that front. But I just mentioned that I think Miroslav would like the fullbacks to be getting forward more and more often. We've seen the exploits of the left-sided one. Bailey Rule's often been described in the last couple of seasons as one of the best attacking right fullbacks in the competition as well. Something for Marconi to watch as this game enters its second half. Been a very entertaining watch, Theo.
And the game has had lots of thrills and spills. Just needs a decisive moment for a goal. Maybe it'll come here. Yes, it's over the bar. Trying to have the final say before the halftime whistle, and the referee says a fingertip was on it from the keeper. It's a corner kick, 1 minute into first half stoppage time.
It's one of those, the goalkeeper's not looking to his teammates for congratulations whatsoever. But Ivica was very well positioned there. Would have seen any slight deflection.
Well, Miro Vlastovic's first response was straight up to the fourth official to protest. Missed the board going up with that Nakano shot at the other end, but we've ticked 90 seconds into first half stoppage time. Sydney United have had most of the answers for Marconi corners today. At the end of the first half, has the concentration waned? George Daniel remains on corner duty. A high looping ball, and headed back from Mlinaric from whence it came. Will be the last act of the first half. We are goalless at the Sydney United Sports Centre. Sydney United 0, Marconi Stallions 0. Alex Montaroff, final word on the first half.
We'll see what happens
A
in the second
competitive
half.
one, Taylor. We
Ladies and
expected nothing
gentlemen.
less in that sense, but Sydney United, I think, edging it in terms of the chances they were able to create. Certainly not the time of attack or possession or territory. I think those were in Marconi's favour, but Sydney United probably happier as we got towards the break.
Stay with us on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel. We'll be back for the second half when the action resumes. The music fades away, not far away now from kick-off at the start of the second half of this NPL Men's New South Wales contest, scoreless at half-time between Sydney United 58 and the Marconi Stallions. Sydney United in the setting sun to attack to the left of your screens. First game for these two teams since the end of daylight savings as well. That feeling that winter is about to pinch. Teo Pellizzeri rejoined here by Alex Molchanov. And Molch, what we need is a goal in this second half. Any musings on which team and where it might come from with the same 11s that started the match resuming the second half?
Not really, Tate, because we've seen both teams turn up opportunities in the first half. Farah Coco with a couple that he managed to fire up over the crossbar. Off balance. Damien Seketis had a good half chance, a good first touch for himself before the finish was lacking. I'd say the right-hand sides of both attacks might be the answer.
Looping backspin on the ball here. Ball under control by Tyrone Burney. Was at the heart of a couple of Marconi's best forward thrusts in the first half. And now Luca Pecora opening up the legs and sprinting here. And he's confronted by two defenders, but refusing to give up on this attack. And a beautiful little step over. Sees him into the box now. Spinning his Armson. Little drag step attempted and not able to take the ball with him though. Sekenis. And the attack breaks down. Now the counter might be on. Krislovic. Quiet at times in the first half, but effective when he was deployed in his target forward role. And on this occasion, he's not able to get the better of Qual. He is going to press all the way to the keeper though. And Wade, who is going to be looking into a bit more of the sun than his opposite keeper. The angle of the stadium means that the sun setting over in the west means that the goalkeeper at the left of screen is going to be affected by it, and the goalkeeper at the right of screen has his back to it here at what is a packed Sydney United Sports Centre. Lots of conjecture about what the crowd was during the halftime break. We had a few estimates on the low side for my liking. I reckon 4,000 is a very healthy, realistic estimate of how many in the house today. As we see Glassick here. Over to the right, Farah Coco counts it back to Mogiwara. Carlos de Oliveira consolidates with Glassick. And now Dylan Rose. All of the key players reacquainting themselves with the ball in the opening minutes of the second half. Koya Nakano. Back to Glassick again. Marconi happy to stand off and watch this unfold. De Oliveira. Now finding a gap for Mason Wells. He leaves it with Tamoki Wada. A slip from Bailey Rule. And the ball will slide out for a throw-in.
The idea was right, though, so they've got to get those fullbacks involved more and more often, because Marconi, man-to-man, going to be very, very difficult to break them down. As much pressure and territory as you can put on them, yes, but it's going to take that little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of quality to find the cutting ball, which is probably where Sydney United were lacking in the first half. It's a much brighter start to this second period for them, though. I mentioned that game against Rockdale a couple of weeks ago where they were able to come out of the break an improved side and eventually take the lead. Hoping for something similar here.
They have won every game so far this season. 8 from 8. Diagonal ball here. Off the head of Pecora. Now Burney. Saw the shirt being grabbed for De Oliveira. The referee says they've split it between the two, 50-50. Pecora coming through. Only Sekenis to aim for. Over his head. Glassick was guarding him closely. Sekenis now at ground level, trying to break past Glassick, and he can't. And it's out for a goal kick. And as the fans filter back out from half-time to their seats and ringing the ground here. It's like a big sing-along at times at half-time. Yes. It was more reminiscent of what you might expect post-game, but just a great feeling in the venue today. Here's Coco, and his pass is blocked and kept away from Krislovic. So a question, how does Sydney United bring Michael Krislovic into the game just a little bit more? Because when they did find him back to goal, it was only on a handful of occasions in the first half, but he did look quite effective at holding the ball up. It's just he's had, I think, scant few touches for a player of his presence potentially in the game so far.
But it's also part of the way Marconi's set up. They are so compact in terms of getting the whole line of four midfielders within 15, 20 yards of each other through the centre of the pitch. So width is generally the best way to beat them. I tend to agree with you. Krislovic is a terrific hold-up player for someone so young. He understands his whereabouts and just how to position his body to hold off defenders. But it's just going to be so difficult with the congestion in there for him to get anything started. I think it's probably going to be more proficient for Sydney United to find him on the end of things. Get his name on the score sheet with a header or a clever first touch finish, because outside of that I can't see him getting too much space in and around the edge of the penalty area unless Tomoki Ward is able to get nice and close to him. That'd be the only way. Maybe throwing Rose forward a little bit more regularly than we saw in the first half, giving him a little bit more licence, but that sacrifices your defensive stability as well. I'm not sure Miro Vlastelica is keen to do that.
De Oliveira obstructed here. George Daniel. No free kick. Well, George Daniel, who was one of the players that we thought had walked right up to the line of a yellow card in the first half only to escape. Only Quinton Blair in the number 23 shirt for Marconi of either team has been yellow carded so far. Vlastelica watches the ball roll on, back to his goalkeeper. Pavlicic on the instep. And Krislovic wins the header, but not to any great effect. Down to Anton Mlinaric.
That's what I mean by needing to have more around him. You can win as many headers as you like in that sort of area as a centre forward, but if there's no one there to tidy up the scraps, then it makes things very difficult. Interesting that Wells and Coco have switched flanks. Maybe that's an observation from Miro Vlastelica that they might be able to get forward and help in those situations a little more.
Nakano looking up at a Marconi press led by Tyron Burney. Spins out to the left. Nakano. And eventually the grabbing became too much to ignore for the referee. Carlos de Oliveira goes backwards and sideways to switch flanks. Bailey Rule, now Farakoko. Coco. Waters pass, releases Rule. A flying cross. Mason Wells. Will it sit for him? Denied by a block from Mlinaric. Well, it was over the head of Krislovic, but Mason Wells bouncing on the synthetic, just trying to get it under control. I guess that's the thing. It may be your home ground and your home synthetic, but it doesn't necessarily mean a home ground advantage.
No. Not always, particularly when it plays little moments like that that have been turned up by both teams to this point. But you're right, Tayo, in terms that it's felt as though it's been an equaliser in those moments.
Vlastelica with a clearance onto the head of Daniel Wada. Cleverly able to nick it and steal the ball. Farakoko. Mlinaric is proving quite the obstacle to pass for Sydney United today. Long ball here, centre back to centre back, and hooked over the shoulder from Glassick.
You can say the same of him down the other end, Tayo. Really has had the better of that little battle with Sekenis for the most part. And it has been those two coming together rather more than Vlastelica, who seems to be the spare man back there for Sydney United more often than not.
Got to say, the outer side looks like it's filled out even more in the second half. Plenty with their eyes up, or their hands up, shielding their eyes from the sun, but both the hill and the seats. And then the canteen up in the corner, just doing a roaring trade. Has an incisive attempt at a pass from Blair. Couldn't thread through Sekenis. Pecora follows up. Almost 10 minutes ticked over in the second half. Who will turn to the bench first? Marconi have gone from being a team reticent to make subs to one that now makes them with really good effect. And they've got players like Franco Meyer, Adam Bugaria and Noah Anderson there who are all really energetic potential to change the game in Marconi's favour should they need them.
Well, I'd say that's down to them being better suited to that role, Tayo. We've seen the impact that Anderson had a couple of weeks ago, all the way back to the championship. Sunday Yona's been lively without scoring his first Marconi goal yet. And Franco Maya, I mean, he's only been pushed out of this side by the form of Bernie and Busek, really.
We'll get to the Sydney United bench at the next break and play, which is coming up right here for a goal kick. They've got Anthony Tomilich, Gabriel Tillo back from making his first appearance for Australia with the under-20s during the week. Adrian Canez, Anthony Krilich, Josh Atzi and Christian Landieri. Any thoughts on a potential first sub for Sydney United and how far away it may be?
Well, I think there's plenty that have tuned in today keen to see Gabriel Tillo back in red, white and blue in front of a big crowd to appreciate this guy's talent. Got a very, very bright one, Sydney United, and just how long they can hold on to him is going to be key to how their season goes, I reckon.
Wells, nice footwork. Little chip wedge, Krislovic out-muscled this time by Mlinaric, but it falls kindly for De Oliveira. Sizes up his options. Wada, Coco, and the finish is saved. Wade parries it away at his near post, and Farah Coco stings the glass.
They had that moment you spoke about, Teo, where Krislovic is able to get a little flick on from the hold-up, and he had supporting players there to the point they were almost queuing up before the ball made its way to Coco. Finally forces a save out of the goalkeeper, but probably would have liked that to be a little better directed.
Mason Wells has crossed the pitch to take the corner kick. Whips it to the near post, and the header is in from Koya Nakano! Great delivery and a great header. And Sydney United fans on the hill run to the players in celebration as Koya Nakano heads the home side into a 1-0 lead.
What a moment.
Goal for Sydney United!
Seems that there might be a new set of glory days around the corner, but how about the flick header? To perfection, Nakano got a free run of the ball. Gorgeous delivery from Wells. We've seen both teams try to curl those balls in towards the goalkeepers, and it's the player who's probably not who we thought would have his name on the score sheet, but that meant that he wasn't receiving the same attention and was able to get that free run. What a way to announce yourself to your new fans, Koya Nakano.
Well, this game was crying out for a big moment. The home side have struck first. The fans are engaged, and now the gauntlet is thrown down to Marconi. Think back to a couple of weeks ago when they trailed away at St George, who hadn't conceded all season at that point and found a way to engineer a late comeback that evening, turning to their bench. They haven't lost since round one. They're bringing a lengthy unbeaten streak of their own into this game. And now the onus is on them to respond, because Sydney United have done what they've done in their 8 previous games, and that is find a way to take the lead.
But it's the first time that they've done it against Marconi in 6, Teo. And that's going to be the thing that they'll be holding on to now. Marconi, the great front runners, can they be the great chasers? It's not something that's come naturally. You mentioned the changes that they've made in the makeup of their bench.
Nakano trying to turn provider for Wells. He wriggles free. Save. Point blank. And Joel Wade has had some big saves in this game, and he keeps it to 1-0 here.
Wonder whether there was just one touch too many taken by Mason Wells there, or he could have taken it on earlier. Either way, it's a very good save from the Marconi keeper. Having just been beaten, he's recovered well, but Sydney United have got the bit between their teeth now.
They are rolling downhill early in the second half. Whipped in by De Oliveira, and Krislovic stooping to the header. Could not put it on target, but the chances are coming with great frequency. And as we approach the hour mark, it is Sydney United 58, firmly on top in open play. And the goal scorer, Koya Nakano, is down here maybe with what we would hope for his sake is a cramp rather than a muscle strain, and a teammate coming over to stretch would suggest as much.
Yeah, and not a stoppage Sydney United would have wanted, because they did have that momentum, but it is going to give Marconi now just a chance to settle somewhat. There have been a couple of times over the past 12 months where they've lost their heads as a collective, Marconi. Can't let it happen here. They look so professional and poised. amongst the noise and the atmosphere of this stadium in the first half hour or so, that has faded away to the point where now they are chasing a game again. Not their favourite situation.
Players taking a drink. It's a cool afternoon, beautiful weather. It's about 21, 22 degrees. There hasn't been a drop of rain since about 12:30 in the afternoon. And for those of you watching interstate or overseas, it's now 4:30 p.m. The goal scorer comes off. Koya Nakano. And coming on is the number 16, Anthony Krilich. Mulch, what does that change mean for Sydney United?
Well, it's like for like outwardly. Whether Krilich is going to get forward and get his head on a set piece, I don't know. But he's just got to adjust to the speed of this game very quickly. It's fallen out of the first team today. You've got to be prepared to do your job when called upon with your team holding a 1-0 lead.
And a foul at the top of the defensive penalty area for Sydney United. So what does the goal do to the table as well? It's a 30-game home and away season, so next weekend is the third mark of the season. Sydney United, 27 points, would be maintaining a gap of 5 from RPL Leichhardt on 22 in second, Marconi on 19 in third, and then they really head the chasing pack. Rockdale 18, St George 16, Spirit 16, Wollongong 14, and then maybe that's where you draw a line between teams that are immediately in the finals mix and teams that need to string something together to close the gap. Sutherland Sharks on 12 points. Still a little bit further down the table, but starting to put some results together and climb as we have a tangle here. And has Bailey Rule been a little bit too physical with how he dealt with George Daniel there? Right in front of the fans on the outer hill. George Daniel's back to his feet. Was there much in that?
Just a ticking off, which is what Ivicikovic went over to do. Ball had been out of play. There was a little shrug off the ball, but nothing too untoward there. I think the bigger thing, you're talking about the table, Teo, is what this says for Sydney United's title aspirations. There's sort of been a thought around that maybe their fixture had been a little simpler than some others a couple of weeks ago. Wins over Rockdale and Marconi in back-to-back weeks would well and truly put paid to that thought.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting remaining half an hour or so, because it is such a long season. I mean, the weather is still nice. Winter has yet to descend upon us.
Cup football's about to get underway for these two clubs as well.
And the other thing is, of course, these two are foundation members of the Australian Championship, and their season doesn't end in September, it ends in December, potentially. So we see a free kick here. Mid-range, chance to whip one in left or right-footed with great danger. And the home side remain the more aggressive in the contest right now. Marconi are just absorbing what Sydney United are throwing at them.
Which they're usually so adept at doing so, but it won't be enough for them now, having copped this early goal.
Is Mason Wells going to enter this conversation? He's walking away, so maybe that rules out a direct shot on goal here. Tomoki Wada and Farah Koko seem to both be shaping to take it right-footed.
Be very surprised if this isn't Wada trying to land one on the head of a Vlasic or Vlastelica or even Krislovic.
The goal scorer, Koya Nakano, has left the game. His header, the difference between the sides. Can a different Sydney United teammate follow his lead? Here's Wada. A drifter, Lenaric, as far as Koko, but a first touch that offered up the ball, and then Busek is fouled, and we're going to see the second yellow card of the game. And having only just come on, it's a yellow.
I think it's Rose they've pinged.
Rose, sorry, not Tomilic. It is Dylan Rose who receives the yellow card. First for Sydney United in today's game.
Well, I think they'll feel it a little hard done by there, Sydney United, given some of the free kicks that Marconi conceded during the first half that weren't booked, but different stage in the game. Sometimes there's a different level.
Marconi trying to play quickly here, and Armson maybe wiped out Glassick rather than vice versa. And an unfriendly word between the two as Glassick gets back to his feet. He's normally a fairly unflappable player as well.
You ask any defender, though, Taylor, they don't quite like it as much when attackers are bringing them down rather than the other way around as they used to. Just a clip of the heels. He's been terrific today, Michael Glassick. He's been faultless, really, for the first couple of months of this season. Almost a turnover.
Yeah, Wade nearly got caught from the blind side. He had to hurry his clearance. I know little 1%ers here that Marconi are not getting right. Wade hurried into the clearance. Coco able to intercept it and win the free kick. And now a little bit further out, but far more central. You'd think it's beyond shooting range. Is Tomokiwada going to try and conjure up something similar to what he did on a tighter angle only a minute ago?
See this off, and then I think Peter Sekenis is going to be thinking very, very hard about substitutions in the next 5 minutes.
Direct shot over the bar and harmless in the end from Tomokiwada. Maybe seizing on... The sun has come out from behind a cloud, so maybe seizing on Joel Wade having to look into the setting sun.
He's off that many steps ahead, Tomokiwada. He's got a big smile on his face as he's returning into midfield as well.
Sekenis headed to the advantage of Armson. Coco backtracking to hold him up. Daniel. Well, what they're lacking at the moment, Marconi, is players just moving at top speed. First half was so noteworthy for the way Tyrone Burney was able to accelerate and run at full sprint. And that's how he opened the second half. But that's just gone out of their game. It's been a little bit more crowded and congested for Marconi ever since falling behind here. And this is what they need. Right on cue. Busek's cross and a shot on the turn. Sekenis tried to find a way to manufacture something, but he didn't get the power.
Well, and you talk about players needing to move. Sometimes doing that with the ball at your feet is the most effective way. Busek's been in fine form to start this season. He's one full of confidence. Just get at your fullback and try and make something happen with the ball. You're right. They do need an insertion of intensity. Again, Wade almost caught on it.
Busek brings it down. The attack continues for Marconi, even though it was high risk at the other end. And out comes Pavlicic, and you can see that just the character of the game is a bit different now. The game state dictating that Sydney United want to manage. Marconi are going to need to think about stepping up the pursuit. Busek again leaves it for Armson. And now Blair trying to scoop it forward. Glassick stepped up. Coco knew that Wada was in space. Wada trying to pick out Krislovic. And the ball is cleared by the combination of Qual and Pecora. A couple of players reach out for the ball and can't bring it under their command. Busek up against Rose, who's on a card now, so has to be a little bit more careful. But he's done really nicely there. And Mlinaric with no care at all for Tomokiwada. And the referee is in, and maybe, well, you don't want to see projectiles being thrown from the crowd, but maybe that was just accidentally on purpose there from Anton Mlinaric to try and just set something off a little bit here and angry up the blood of his own team.
I couldn't agree more. Exactly the thought I had. You're right, there was no care shown for where the ball was there. Mlinaric knew exactly what his aim was there. Bring some of the players together and try and get that crowd that's very much against the Marconi Stallions to play into their favour, and they're feeling a little bit here.
Has the yellow
yes,
card
it
been
has.
credited?
Yes, it was a yellow card.
Ladies and gentlemen, no throwing of any projectiles, no throwing of bottles onto the pitch, please. No throwing of anything onto the pitch.
And the ground announcer straight onto it about a few bottles finding their way onto the field. Hopefully there's a few sensible people out there self-policing, and that's the last we'll have of it. Probably the best thing for the game is just to get the ball back rolling again and everyone's focus back on the action. Interesting though, Mlinaric, he's eaten the yellow card. There's 20 minutes to go, so you imagine that he'll be able to watch his step effectively enough. But is that a flashpoint that's going to lead to Marconi really turning the momentum. In the meantime, Gabriel Tillo, back from young Socceroos duty, is going to come on. He was deployed in a right-back role for the national team, Mulch, and he's going to seemingly come on here for Farakoko, so a more attacking role, which is what we've become accustomed to seeing him do at NPL level. And we know that he can be a game changer. Farakoko has had a couple of shots on target. Gabriel Tillo, maybe his day to beat the keeper rather than have them denied.
Well, he's had both roles in his early Sydney United career as well. Blaselich has been keener on him as an attacking player, someone who can make a difference in that half. So this switch will be like for like. And this is a perfect situation for him now, Teo. With Sydney United up a goal to nil, he can play with freedom and perhaps give them a few more counter-attacking opportunities than they might have had available to them had this game still been sitting 0-0.
And so we're back underway. Almost an impromptu break there with the yellow card from Lenaric and then the sub of Tillo coming on for Coco. Glassick. Only as far as Blair, but he's had his pocket picked here. Wada, De Oliveira, and then the backtracking Pecora does very nicely. Armson to Tyron Burney. He cuts inside and he's legged by Krilic.
Marconi want to see more of him in the game now. Seen Busak step up in a couple of moments over the last 5 minutes. Need Tyron Burney if he's going to be occupying that right wing position. He's got to get himself on the ball and be dictating things a little more, as he did there.
Armson to take the free kick.
Did he take a couple of yards?
Well, under great protestation from the United bench. But it's a moot point as Vlastelica heads it away, and then stretching the legs off the bench, Tillo kept it in. De Oliveira clears. Pecora backtracking under pressure from Wada. Sets Wade a task, and Wade judges the bounce well, at least well enough to clear keeper to keeper, rather than find a teammate.
This is the quietest it's been for about half an hour. Will that start to seep into the game a little bit as well?
Is this the calm before one final big storm? Krilic knocks the ball away.
Still no substitutions for Marconi either, and not looking as though they're being called over at this stage.
Lenaric. Krilic is headed down. Glassick got to the ball before Sekenis. Now Wells briefly into the attacking half, and Qual slices the ball away. Still plenty of time to go, but you can see some of the game management tactics are starting to emerge from Sydney United. Krilic down the line. Krizlovic's header. Wada. Armson, and now De Oliveira sweeps it over to Gabriel Tillo. He's going to shoot on sight. And blocked away by George Daniel. Skimming header. It's going to run on kindly. Armson knew exactly where Jesic was. Marco Jesic on the move. He plays it to Sekenis, and then it just glances on. I mean, it might even go down as a shot on target, but one very easily collected. As Mason Wells is fouled by Luca Pecora.
And this will become an ever-present threat for Sydney United now. Every time Marconi commit any sort of numbers forward, they're going to be asked big questions defensively. Sydney United are not going to put the cue in the rack here. They want to kill this game off in the next 10 minutes before you really get to those nervy stages of the last 10 or so.
George Daniel taking the throw in down in the left back corner. Busek and Daniel. Blocked away. Mlinaric against Krislovic. And the ball has been won away by Tillo, only briefly. Swept away by Blair. Good place for Kennis. Brings it to ground and now sends it long. Tyrone Burney is chasing, but the goalkeeper just had the advantage. Less distance to cover, and Pavlicic rolls the ball into his gloves. Double change on the way. Noah Anderson and Sunday Yona. They'll arrive, you suspect, at the next break in play for Marconi. Vlasic. Daniel. Blair. And now Mlinaric. Oh, miscued pass. De Oliveira seizes upon it to Mokiwada. Oh! And Blair is able to clear. He was trying to find one more lateral pass over to a free Mason Wells.
Uncharacteristic effort from Marconi. In terms of the turnover, playing out of their own half, usually so assured in that area. I think they need this fresh blood, Teo. There's just a little bit of concern and consternation sneaking into their play. They can't afford it if they're to find an equaliser.
Going on for Marconi,
first of the players to come off.
Anderson, and number 17, Sunday Yona.
And Marco Jesic the other. So Noah Anderson and Sunday Yona come on. Luka Pecora and Marco Jesic come off. Marco Jesic blows a kiss to the fans, giving him plenty in the VIP behind us. And here's Teng Kwol as the ball is back live. Yona, first involvement off the bench. He's able to win the ball initially. Now he takes on Vlastelica, who refuses to be beaten. Wada there helping out. And then the clearance down the line. Out for a throw-in by Krilic.
You can see already the effectiveness of those two. The fresh legs, one they've given Marconi, but two, just the lack of fear to go and press this game and try and chase something.
Daniel. Busek keeps his feet under duress. Armson. And Anderson just caught behind the defender. Well done there by Tillo. Daniel can reload for Marconi. Turning away from Tillo. And with a deflection, Anderson against Vlasic. He's going to wheel back around. Noah Anderson goes to work. Hits the line again. And it's a goal kick. No touch from Vlasic. And good sportsmanship from the veteran. He goes and picks up young Noah Anderson and helps him to his feet after he sliced it away. Adam Bugaria is going to come on here as well. The former young Socceroo and Perth Glory player who's had to bide his time breaking in at NPL level with Marconi, and he's coming on for Jack Armson here.
Yeah, yet to make a start, but an attacking change is just going to add another number into that attacking role. Whereas Jesic is someone that wants to get the ball to feet and can spin in behind after that. Bugaria can add that thrust of a third man run from in behind what looks to be a front two now with Sekenis and Anderson.
So 3 changes from Marconi. Blair. And Bugaria's first involvement is to wipe out Carlos de Oliveira.
A little bit too much energy coming off the bench. Didn't need to be in there for that challenge once he knew de Oliveira was getting there first. Just a pressure reliever, a time eater.
Vlastelica launches a high diagonal ball. Cleared by Daniel. Rule. Vlasic. Another raking diagonal pass. Burney headed it 2 wells in the end, but now a one-on-one battle ensues. Back to Krilic. De Oliveira in space. He's going to land it, well, right in the keeper's gloves. Over the head of Krislovic in the end.
Still the sort of ball you want to look for to Michael Krislovic. Only done it a couple of times this afternoon. One of them was a really clear chance that it's only just nodded wide.
I think Marconi just didn't want to make a quadruple sub for the hell of it because Franco Meyer has been told to take off his sub vest. So we're going to see 4 changes made in 3 windows in quick succession here. Daniel. Franco Meyer standing next to the 4th official, not far away. Blair hoping for Yona. Yona cuts back towards the ball, brings it down, and then got robbed from the blind side by the backtracking Mason Wells. As we tick into the final 10 minutes, and so this is interesting here from Marconi. They've used all 3 of their substitute windows in about a 5-minute spell here. And leaving the game on the outer side of the pitch is Mate Busek, and on comes the mercurial Franco Meyer.
Very good way to describe him, Teo. They need his hot version today. The one that's delivering and involved in everything and causing headaches for the opposition. Yona switch flanks in the meantime.
Here's Sunday Yona, sidestep. Meyer, first touch off the bench. Second could be golden. It's blocked away. And maybe Franco Meyer coming on with a point to prove wins a corner.
He's got a beautiful left foot when it is working. You can see the sweetness of that strike. Carlos de Oliveira certainly felt it. Brave piece of defending.
Lenaric, Qual, Sikanis all wait in the penalty area. Sunday Yona can leap with the best of them. Meyer's corner. Up and under from Krislovic. It's not away yet. Pavlicic came for the ball and sliced away by Bugaria. It was chaos at the fall of the ball, and it was just squeaked on to Adam Bugaria, and he put his left laces across the ball rather than through it.
The snapshot, and it really did come to him very quickly. Marconi needed a moment of madness like that to fall for them. I don't know how many more chances they're going to get now. Time ticking away. But the changes have swung the momentum of this match back in their favour. They looked a little bit lost and a little bit confused about how the game was unfolding 10 minutes ago. That's certainly not the case now. They are well and truly chasing this equaliser, and they're doing it a lot more efficiently than was the case for the first 10 or 15 minutes after they went behind.
Anthony Tomilic is waiting in the technical area now. Izmira Vlastelica just waiting for the right minute to drop anchor and decide 1-0 is enough. 82 and a half minutes currently played. Sydney United leading thanks to a header from Koya Nakano. A battle for possession. Bugaria. Great play from Rose. He wins the ball and launches a counter-attack, but to no great effect.
Krislovic didn't want it at that time. He was going to play it, wanted it to feet. He's done so much gut running for them today. Worked really hard up front, pressing Marconi into corners, not letting them have passages of play or too many like this, where they are able to just work the ball forward calmly, but even then, cut off by de Oliveira.
Wada, Krislovic in a race against Qual, and Qual gets to the ball first to put it behind for a corner kick. And Sydney United have got it down the right end as far as they're concerned.
Could be a familiar tale for them, Teo. They've seen off a lot of pressure in the first half. Come out in the second looking at an improved outfit, got their goal. And now looking to ride the game out again. The fact that they're going to have gone through this run, if the results to hold, 9 wins with just 6 goals conceded. I think anyone who'd watched Sydney United a year ago, you told them that at the start of 2026, would have had their eyebrows raised at the very least.
Plenty of time taken by Tomoki Wada here before this corner. Anthony Tomilic and Christian Lardieri are waiting to come on, but Miro Vlastelica discussing with the 4th official. It's not going to be until after the corner. Wada sends it outside the area. De Oliveira, and now Vlastelica. It runs out for a goal kick. It's going to be a first senior appearance for Christian Lardieri, the 19-year-old, wearing the number 47 shirt. He doesn't have the name on the back of his shirt, Mulch, and a name far more familiar. at Sydney United.
Sydney United, number 5,
Anthony Tomic is coming on as well.
There's a certain symmetry to that, isn't there? Yep. All-time appearance leader against the with a debutant. And I'm sure Tomic will be able to tell Christian, not all afternoons in the NPL are quite like this, but there are becoming more and more of them.
So Lardieri, who was playing under 18s just 2 seasons ago, comes on here. He had some good form up last season in the 20s, and he relieves Michael Krislovic today. And Tomic on as well. So a double change in the 86th minute for Sydney United 58s. Here's Franco Meyer. Wants his left. Lifts it into the box. Headed it down by Vlastelica and then cleared by Wells.
It was ungainly from Wells, wasn't it? Not a player too familiar with being in positions like that. Did his job. Oh my dairy, flying in. Won the ball cleanly.
Well, in his 3rd season at Sydney United, Lardieri, after playing under 16s at the Western Sydney Wanderers. And an opportunity for him here to just lead the line and try to press from the front. Carlos de Oliveira is still up there with him, so it's not quite 11 behind the ball just yet for Sydney United 58. They want a counter-attacking presence. Marconi need to throw some caution to the wind. Meyer keeps his feet, extracts across, Sekenis with a header. And even though he was free, he was on an acute angle, and Pavlicic watches it wide at the near post.
Well, I was surprised he went for that same post. He was at the back post, though, and he tried to head it for that corner rather than putting the ball into an area back across goal. Maybe give Noah Anderson something to feed on. It was going to be a very difficult one to steer home. Sydney United look a lot happier to sit in their own half than they did 10 minutes or so ago. Shouldn't be surprised by that.
Lenaric, up and under. Meyer back helping out the defence. De Oliveira is going to chase all the way. Tried to buy a deflection there. And again, that pressure on Wade resulted in the clearance going to Rule initially, but now Marconi trying to find a way forward through Sunday Yona. And he's left the ball for Bailey Rule. He leaps in, no foul. Play continues. George Daniel drifting on a diagonal here, Daniel. And now he sends it over to the right. Tyrone Burney looks up at a crowded penalty area. Burney backs his speed, and there's enough spin on the ball to take it out for a corner kick.
These are the sort of situations Marconi have really made their names on. Can they find the delivery and the execution when the moment demands?
Franco Myers had one corner already. It was headed away by the United defence. Can he find a teammate here? Well, he puts it on the roof of the net, and that's an anticlimax. We're in the last 2 minutes of regulation now.
Needed more from him there. The ask has been to put the pressure on Pavlicic in those sort of moments with the ball curling in towards him. Flying a bit too close to the sun there.
How many minutes will be on Rowan Fisher's board? We haven't had any significant stoppages, it must be said.
No.
Other than a brief untangling of push and shove after the yellow card for Anton Mlinaric, but it wasn't a huge delay. Flick headed by Anderson. Vlasic. Cleared by Rose. Tillo. Can't find Lardieri. Half volley by Tomic is going to bend out to Mason Wells on the wing. No thoughts of going to the corner yet. De Oliveira. Wells. Back to Krilic. And now De Oliveira turns. Left-footed pass. Lardieri. And De Oliveira saved away. Wade keeps Marconi in it. That would have been the full stop on proceedings. Instead, Sunday Yona bursting forward at the other end. And it took a big deflection off Sekenis. They couldn't keep it moving, Marconi. It's cleared, but they have the ball back. Lenarich. Fourth official about to hoist the board. How long have Marconi got? How long does Sydney United need to hold out? 5 additional minutes.
Fourth officials put up 5 minutes of additional time. 5 minutes of injury
It's
time.
heartening for Marconi. I don't think they were expecting they were going to have quite that much. Peter Sekenis is sending 10 call forwards. That auxiliary role, something we've seen him do pretty well down the years for Sydney Olympic.
Tillo's going to press it out here. Wade comes off his line. Krilic up off the head of Quoll, but only as far as Rose. And he's put himself in some good positions in these late stages here. Lenarich being hassled by De Oliveira. Can't get anything wrong. He goes back to his goalkeeper. A left-footed scoop to clear. Off the back of Bugaria. It's going to work out kindly. Quoll. Oh, he left the ball behind. And Wells steers it back to Krilic. 1 of the 5 minutes ticks by. Here goes Meyer. Oh, the crowd riding every touch of the ball now. Blair. Oh, he's hit the cross a little bit skinny, and it bounces up into the gloves of Pavlicic.
I think Peter Sekenis will be disappointed with the way they've chased this game in the last 5 minutes or so. I just said after the substitutions have been made, things were working. They were moving the ball a lot more proficiently than they have lately. I wonder whether the panic of it all, just sending the ball forward a little bit aimlessly in moments like that.
Bernie. Quoll the target. Gets the initial touch, but it falls kindly for Tomilic. Daniel brought to ground legally. De Oliveira. And now Tillo. Through comes Blenarich. Has to clear it into the fence, and Sydney United in no hurry to take the throw in here. Bailey Rule is just going to slowly jog down to the line. Half of the 5 minutes of stoppage time has expired. And now is it time to take it to the corner for Sydney United. Ladieri. De Oliveira. Meyer only as far as Rose. Sidestep was neat. And now De Oliveira again. Tillo skips past Daniel. And he's falling almost on the ball at the edge of the box. And Daniel kept his feet. He clears. Yona. Oh, he showed too much of the ball to Rose. And Rose leapfrogs over a challenge from Meyer. It's getting desperate on the sideline. And Marconi get the free kick. So they will be able to at least leave the vicinity once they get the ball back. It's a little bit chaotic out on that side of the ground.
Ladies and gentlemen, no throwing of bottles on the pitch, please. No throwing of anything on the pitch. Thank you.
Joel Wade has come out to take the restart here. He's just going to wave everyone forward. No time to be distracted by what's going on. He just has to drive it forward and look for an equaliser. It's going to bounce. Vlastelica headed away. Rose. And now Tillo. Caught by Daniel. Noah Anderson looking for a burst of acceleration. Rule tracking him. Anderson's cross. And it's catching practice for Adam Pavlicic.
Fall back to the one Marconi attacker. And Anderson put that into a promising area, but really once Sekenis hadn't managed to get a run at the ball, it was easily worked for Adam Pavlicic, who's been very tidy back there.
Only seconds left to play with for Marconi. Sydney United are close. De Oliveira wins a free kick, and that might be enough to milk the clock and get to the finish line. You are about to hear an explosion and an outpouring of celebration Sydney United 58 are getting closer and closer to 9 wins from 9. Down to the corner it goes. Tillo is there. Cleared by George Daniel. It's United's throw. Stoppage time will expire before they get a ball back. And the full-time whistle sounds. Sydney United
9 wins in a row to start the season.
9
with a 1-0 victory over Marconi Stallions.
Of support, of legitimacy, of contendership has come to the Sydney United Sports Centre. Koya Nakano heading into the 57th minute with the opening goal. And the Ron Corrie Cup will be going to Sydney United.
Check your socials for next week,
please,
because there's
have the
another home
final
game
say
here next Sunday
on what was a thoroughly entertaining afternoon
about the
at the NPL.
Well earned. When a game is in the balance, you've got to go out
Sunday. Going for 10 wins in a row.
find the moment to win it. And Koya Nakano is the new name on the lips of everybody around here. But it's a record equaling. But I think it's the biggest thing here, Teo. Whatever happens the rest of the year, their names will go alongside the Spartans as a team to have managed this in the NPL New South Wales era, given where they were 6 months ago. This is a pretty spectacular turnaround.
Well, number 10 will be St George City on Sunday the 12th of April back here at the Sydney United Sports Centre. Marconi's next game on Saturday against the SD Raiders at Marconi Stadium. On behalf of our production crew, Sportscast Australia, Alex Molchanoff, my name's Teo Pellizzeri. We leave you with the full-time score. Sydney United 58-1, Marconi Stallions 0. Good afternoon.